JetBlue 191 emergency, and we're going to need authorities and medical to meet us at the airplane.
Yes, sir. We're standing by for you.
The JetBlue pilot who had an acute psychiatric episode yesterday was described prior to this as a consummate professional by the CEO of JetBlue. Joining me now is former pilot and publisher of jetwine.com, Rob Mark. Rob, I've got friends that are pilots. I've consulted for airlines as an addictionologist. I know the airlines go to great lengths to protect the, shall we say, the ability of pilots to fly the aircraft. What do you think happened in this case?
Well, it's a tough call, I think, until we hear everything. And of course, I think they're also going to be listening to the cockpit voice recorders that will give them some idea of what went on before that captain left the cockpit yesterday. But this is a tough one because this has never happened, to my knowledge, before, that a captain has essentially lost control to the point that the first officer locked him out of the flight deck. Again, I've never heard of that before.
Now, he mentioned as the plane was taking off, apparently, that he'd had some sort of an evaluation. I wonder, my first thing I thought was, I wonder if he had a drug screen the day before that caused him to stop using whatever he had been using, and maybe we're seeing, alcohol withdrawal here as what's causing the agitation. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, usually when you have a drug screen issue, they're always random. And you don't go anywhere until the results of the drug screen are completed. So that if they did do a drug screen on him and it showed anything, he shouldn't have been flying that day. But, again, there are probably so many different factors that we're not aware of right now. All we know is that the first officer did the right thing, and that was probably a very, very tough call for a co-pilot to make, because if he'd been wrong, it would have probably been his job.
Yeah, I can just imagine. It's such a hair-raising idea, notion of having to make these kinds of decisions in the heat of battle like that. I mean, it's incredible that everyone behaved as well as they did, and this ended as well as it did. In the last time we were talking to a woman who had a pilot as a husband, and he apparently had some depression, and she was saying that he wasn't allowed to take antidepressant medicine. And I have friends who've said that too, about being pilots and being fearful of taking either mood stabilizers or antidepressants. Is that still the FAA's policy, or is that changing at all?
Well, it's been looked at, but again, right now, as far as I know, there is no change to that policy, because I think the feds are always worried. They're always leaning on the conservative side, which I think everybody out there would believe they should. But they're always worried of what would happen if someone was on the medication and went off. Is that what we saw here? I mean, we don't know for sure.
And we've got less than a minute left, but help us sort of put this all together. You have lots of expertise in this. What's your overall, is there a lesson to be learned here?
Well, I think the lesson to be learned is that we want to get to the bottom of the problem, and everybody is probably going to start calling for a fix for, I heard one of your guests earlier mention that people needed to be evaluated more, but we don't want to make a crazy decision and just start adding complexity to a problem that may not be there. We need to know what the problem is first before we can try to fix it.